This is the right time. So what I want you to do right now is get out a pen and a piece of paper. I know you're going to want to take notes over the next hour and a half. And while you're at it, go ahead and turn your phone on Do Not Disturb. Unless you're watching this on your phone, flip it over, close out all other windows, and plan to invest the next 90 minutes into yourself. Give yourself all that you've got. Give Araj your undivided attention, because I know he's going to give you everything he's got. Today is going to build on Monday and Tuesday. You're in for a treat. This is my favorite lesson, so I'm looking forward to it. And as we get into the lesson, I'm going to bring Araj on with me. Hello, Araj. How are you?
I'm great, Mikey. How are you?
I'm doing great. I am so excited for this lesson. And I love when you teach on identity, and I would love for you just to intro us as to what is to come.
Well, today is one of my favorite days of the week, every week. Wednesday, I call it moving day. I have a theme for every day in the week. And it's really the difference between a lot of people get to Wednesday. They're either letting Monday and Tuesday's results either get them into coast, get them into panic, or get them thinking the right way. And I always consider Wednesday such an important day because it's really how you can create a quantum leap in your week. The weeks are so great. And I know I'm not answering your question, but the weeks are so great because we want to start programming ourselves for the wins even before we have them. Like, we want to start celebrating what we're going to celebrate on Friday, what we're going to celebrate the end of today. This lesson, I don't really have a favorite lesson personally, because they all are so impactful, and success is like a recipe. But today, like, standard is my favorite topic that I implemented as part of my philosophy and a part of my identity. And you mix standard and identity, and it changes the game, because you're never going to outperform your identity. Your identity is always creating your results. Your identity is a foundation of your programming. What creates success is the standard, is always the standard, is always the standard. Success, you can get there hard, you can get there effortlessly. I like effortlessly better than hard. But if you go talk to 1,000 high achievers, the one common denominator to get them there is standard. The standard is always the standard. And so I'm hoping I'm going to transfer it so every single one of you really understands the importance of today's lesson.
I know you're going to, because you are the king of simplifying things, making it easy to understand and easy to implement. So I'm going to hand it over to you. It's all yours.
All right. Let me just share my screen and we can get started. Okay. So let's get started. When we look at really creating massive quantum leaps, because that's what I want for all of you, it comes down to 4 big themes. Number one, you have to have a sincere desire for interchange and quantum leaps. Like, you can't wish it. You're really ready to receive it. You get to a point where you're inspirationally dissatisfied, where you're sick and tired of being sick and tired, where you're ready to make a big jump, and you understand that it's going to take whatever it takes. Number 2, we have working principles, which we're showing you all week. Everything I'm showing you is how to win considerably. You have workable principles, and now I want you to commit that you're going to do the work. And number 3, you are honest with yourself. You're reflecting, what are my behaviors? What are my commitments? What are my double binding messages? Am I sending out counter intentions? So you're very honest with yourself. And number 4, you operate with persistence in everything you do. You get an adversity, you keep going. You keep taking action. You keep thinking explosively. You're thinking in a certain way. And this is going to allow you to create a formula of quantum leap after quantum leap after quantum leap. Now, decide every day that it's going to be the best day of your life. Yesterday, I said, I know today's going to be the best day of your life. And anybody who accepted that idea, I guarantee you it was a phenomenal day. I want today to be even better than yesterday. I want you to make a commitment with me right now that today you're going to beat your personal best. You're going to have the best performance, the best thinking, the best actions of your year today. Now, I showed you this on day one. The process of growth from whom and what you are to who you want to become is the work. If you do the work, compounded over 24 weeks, compounded over 52 weeks, compounded over 100 weeks, I mean, your life is going to be so infinite. I mean, it's going to be so limitless what you create. The work is always you. My work is always me. And I want you to commit to doing that work. Now, everybody wants freedom. Freedom, there's a price. That price is doing whatever it takes. That price is being in control of your thinking. That price is being what you want to be before you even see it with your five senses. But that price requires you peeling away any fear and attachment. Anything you're attached to, I want you to let it go. Just let it go. And I want you to peel away from the fear. You may have a lot of old stories going on, which we're going to heal today, which we're going to transform today. And we're going to transform you today by letting go of any fear and attachment. That's all from the past. Let's get rid of it and let's not bring it into our future. Now, I think this is one of the most important slides that I ever present. We have to make a standard for ourselves that we are not going to protect ourselves from who we want to be. A lot of people want big jumps. They want a great business. They want more money. They want that relationship of their dream. They want to be in their perfect health. And yet they're always protecting themselves. I want you to stop protecting yourself from who you want to be, and I want you to let yourself go there. When you let yourself go there, it's going to create a massive quantum leap. Now, the universe is here to serve you. The universe is a friendly place. The universe wants you to have everything you want to have. But we've got to get out of the way. How do we get out of the way? We commit. How else? We transform ourselves. We do the deep internal work. We surrender. We're letting go. We're not attached to anything. And then the universe can do its magic and serve you in the most plentiful way. Now, when we talk about standard and identity, which we're going to talk about in detail today, it's all about you. If you go back to day one, I said this week is not about us. It's about you. And it's about you understanding you, you growing you really connecting to the genius that is dying and that is dying to come out from inside of you. And this is all about you. But to understand us, we have to understand who we are. Your spiritual DNA is absolutely perfect. It requires absolutely no modification or improvement. Every one of you can do 25 times better than you're doing right now. But we've got to let that genius come out of us. Our spiritual DNA is all-knowing. You have access to all the knowledge in the world. Right now, when an idea comes, where do you think you got it from? Because your spiritual DNA is perfect. It is all-powerful. You have these other gears you can go to. It is ever-present. I could be in the US and I could be talking to somebody in Australia. We're all connected. It is ever-present. And it is the real you. Now, the question we've got to ask ourselves is, do we understand this? Are you truly what and whom you pretend to be? Now, here's an honest truth. If you're not really making it happen, you are not aware of this genius inside of you. You are not aware of your infinite potential. You may say, yes, I have potential. I know it's infinite, but you're not connected to it. Our job is to become more and more aware of the genius inside of us. And then if any of you right now are wanting to create a massive jump in how you see yourself, here is a great affirmation that I encourage you to imprint in your subconscious mind through repetition. I am so happy and grateful now that I am becoming more and more aware that my spiritual DNA is perfect. It is all-knowing. It is all-powerful. It is ever-present, and it is the real me, and I am really making it happen. Quantum leaps are my birthright, and I am creating a massive jump in my life. I am world-class, and I'm showing the world, not just by what I say, but what I do, that I am world-class. Now, that is a great declaration statement for you to improve your self-esteem and identity. Now, I want you to make a committed decision right now that you're going to fall in love with the process of becoming the best version of yourself. That means, and when you're accepting double binding messages, you're going to give yourself grace. You're not going to give yourself excuses. You're going to give yourself grace. I want you to fall in love with the wins. I want you to fall in love with the setbacks. I want you to fall in love with every part of you. When you're negotiating with yourself and you caught it, fall in love with all of the processes that it takes to become the best version of yourself. Now, when we talk about standard, the standard activates everything in our life. Standard creates abundance. Let's go back to this. We started with vision. Our vision creates our philosophy. Our philosophy is our underlying belief, which we've committed this week to define what your new philosophy is going to be. Your philosophy creates your standard. Your standard is what creates abundance. Your standard is what activates quantum leaps in your life. Your standard creates your new story. Your story creates your identity, and the identity creates your results. So I love this quote by Dennis Waitley. He said, of all the judgments we make, there are none more important than the estimates we place on ourselves according to our internal standards. See, right now, every one of us has an expectation of what we think we can do. That will tell you whatever that expectation is, either consciously or unconsciously, will tell you what your current standards are. And your standard is showing the world who you are, how you are showing the world how you value yourself. And the world is giving you exactly what you're putting out as your standard, and the outside world is shaping what is showing up in your world based on your standard. Your standard is your DNA to success. Your standard is going to change the game. The higher, we worked on goals yesterday, and I want you to burn this in your mind. The higher your goals, that's why we set goals that are worthy of you, and standards become, the more aware you're going to become of the right strategies that match it. So if somebody has little goals, they have little standards. Somebody who has big goals, they're going to have bigger and bigger standards. And the more they're going to pick up in their awareness the right strategies that are going deep inside of them for them to match that. Now, it is impossible to exceed the standards you have for yourself. You are never going to outperform your standard. Your standard is what sets your baseline of what you attract into your life. Look at the type of people you are closest with and look at their results and compare them to yours. They're going to match. Your standard sets the direction of where you're going. Going back to day one, I said, we go with the direction we face. Your destination is always determined by the direction, and results don't change overnight, but our direction does. The standard you hold of yourself with discipline, that goes back to yesterday's lesson, is our most important core value. Now, let's start setting some real good standards for all of you. I want to start giving you some hints. Have a significant standard of honesty with yourself. You know, when we talk about standard and identity, I remember one of the first lessons that really impacted me so greatly. My mentor, Bob Proctor, used to tell me, nobody's going to win unless they have a significant image of themselves. Well, how do you create that significant image? You create it with a significant level of honesty with yourself. So you know what I want to change, what I can change, what I can grow into. You can grow into anything you commit to. Now, you have a standard towards everything. So let's take a good inventory of where my standard is. I want everybody right now from a neutral place. Get out a pen and paper if you don't already have one and write this down. I want you to look at the amount of money you have in your bank account right now. That is your standard towards money. I want you to look, if you put yourself on a scale of 1 to 10, how do I see myself? Do I see myself as a star? Do I see myself average? Do I see myself mediocre? Right on a scale of how you see yourself, that's the standard you have of yourself right now. Selling, a very important standard to have. We're always selling ourselves on what we're going to do. We're selling ourselves on an idea, product, or service. How good are you at selling yourself on your goals? That's a standard. Action. We talked a lot about action yesterday, where we want to put action into a disciplined activity. What is my standard towards action? Observe the type of actions you're taking. Are you taking actions in your comfort zone, or are you taking actions out of your comfort zone? Then look at your health. Are you always saying, I want to get healthy, but never commit to it? Well, that will be your standard towards health. And then accepting new ideas. I want you to be so open to new ideas. See, if I can get you to only accept what you want, that's all you're going to start attracting. Through the repetition and disciplining yourself to hold that image with your will, your higher faculty, without being distracted by any other idea, you're going to have all these ideas come in to your world. And then discipline. How disciplined are you? Have you been practicing the every 3 hours? Or have you said, oh, that's a good idea? Standard. See, all of these have a standard, and we have a standard towards everything. We want to start improving the standards one standard at a time. Now, what is your standard gap? I want you to think of your goal, and I want you to think of your old standard before this week, and then think of what is the standard my goal demands. Remember, the goal always defines the process. And I want you to write the exact qualities of the standard you would have had you achieved your goal right now. And I want you to live those standards right now. And from this moment on, you draw a line in the sand. You're not going to accept anything below that standard. This is the new you. This is you showing the world, I am acting as if, and I am demanding you to bring everything into my life that is according to my actions and my definiteness. And as you define this gap, you walk into the new version of you. Now, this is a great slide. When you evolve your standard, you keep growing it, it will blow your results out of the water. Your results will happen by default. They're happening by default anyway. Standards create abundance. I'm going to keep telling you this over and over again. When you're in need, you're in lack and limitation. And when you say, I don't know what processes, we got to start thinking. What are the processes? I'm giving you processes, but I'm going to give you a lot more processes if you join me and work closer with me in our elite coaching. But I want you to understand, if you're not getting the results you want, there are some processes that are either outdated, that are not practiced, or you're practicing the wrong processes that are not in harmony with your goal. We want to shift that. Now, I want you to build grit as part of your standard. Grit is a great word, and people get grittier as they age. You know, when you grit is about sticking to one thing for a year or a decade. You know, I want you to think about that. I remember, I'm a big rock and roll fan, and I remember when Tom Petty passed away, I was talking to my mentor. I said, he did this for over 5 decades. And that's somebody who had grit. He found what he loved, and he kept working at it. And I told my mentor, I said, that's what you've done. He said, you know, I learned this from Earl Nightingale. He said, the key to life is finding what you love and loving what you do. He said, Arash, this idea has used us. We're going to do it for the rest of our lives. I work at this every day. I don't work at a lot of other things. I work at this to keep teaching it better. My ability to deliver it better for you all. And that's what grit is. It's sticking to one thing until you've mastered it. Now, not starting and stopping. Make a committed decision from this point on. I'm not going to overpromise myself. If I'm going to say I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it, and I'm not going to renegotiate. And then constantly upgrade your processes. Constantly. I was challenging my good friend Monica DeMarin the other day, and I said, maybe your processes are outdated. I know my processes get outdated, so I'm always upgrading them because I want to change at such a fast clip, because I know I can go as fast as my thinking goes. I know I can go as fast as I keep expanding to bigger ideas. So constantly make upgrading your processes part of your standard, and then stick to your goal and be very flexible on how you're going to achieve your goal. There is not one goal that I've ever achieved over the last 17 years that went the way I thought it was going to go. I always had to be open to a better idea. The universe is always here to serve us, as I told you earlier, and the universe is much wiser than me. And the universe is always working with me. We're co-creating this thing called life together. But I have free will, so I have to be flexible, and so do you. Now, let's make a part of our standard, we're always in upgrade mode. We can always get better. Make better a healthy obsession. I can get better today than I was yesterday. I can get better at presenting than I was the day before. I want you to look at everything in upgrade mode. Now, when you put the proper standards in place, you're going to speed up the goal achieving process significantly. You're going to achieve your goal as fast or as slow as your standards are set. So understand, we can speed these up, we can speed up the goal achieving process with the proper standards in place. Now, we've got standards locked in. Now, the game changer, identity. Identity is how you see yourself. Now, your identity always starts with your goal, because if you don't have a big goal, if you don't have a goal worthy of you, there's no reason to change your identity. And I will tell you right now, if you want to know where your identity is right this moment, look at your present results. Look at the amount of money you're earning. Look at your health. Look at your relationships. Look, am I fulfilled? And then observe your commitments. Where do I have an all-in commitments? That'll tell you your identity. Where are my behaviors? How am I behaving? That'll tell you your identity. Now, what I want you to do is connect to the alternate identity. You'll never play small when you go to your alternate identity. Every one of us has it, either conscious or unconscious. The real winners are conscious of it. You know, like you look at this slide, Clark Kent and Superman, alternate identity. Beyonce her alternate identity was Sasha Fierce. Kobe Bryant, Black Mamba. You know, Slim Shady, Eminem was Slim Shady. And your alternate identity, mine is dog, D-A-W-G, exclamation point, exclamation point, exclamation point. Like anybody I work with them on creating their alternate identity. The alternate identity is not the masked you, it's the real you. It's the you that goes off of instinct, but you want to name it. I got a great client of mine and we worked with her and we created a great alternate identity. There are a few come to mind. I have one goes by Miss Sassy. Another one goes by the Silent Assassin. Another one goes by Frickin' Mary. So I have all these alternate identities. That's the real them. And I want you to stop living a mask. Start going to your instinct. Your instinct is 10 times more powerful than your intellect. Your instinct is the real you, not who you're showing up, needing to be like, needing to conform, overthinking. That's not the real you. I want you to spend time and create the right adjectives of who you really are proud of. That's the real you. In every decision, you tap into that alternate identity. Everything you do is the alternate identity. That is the real you. Now, in order to change our identity, you must have an unwavering belief in yourself. And I'm going to tell you right now, there's no better person to believe in than you. I believe in every one of you. I believe in every client. You say, well, you don't know me yet. I may not know you, but I know your potential. I tell every client, I know you could do this. Why do I know? Because you have the same potential I have. And you have to believe in my belief before you take it on your own. But I want you to believe in your unwavering potential. I want you to believe in your higher faculties. I want you to believe in these principles, and then your belief is going to take off. But understand this, if we're going to choose a much different life, we've got to choose courage over comfort. When we're choosing comfort, we're operating fear, doubt, worry, anxiety, shrinking. Are you operating with those? We've got to get rid of them. That's not who you are. That's the old story, and we've got to transform the old story. Now, everything I want you to build is build a new model of your future self. What are the characteristics of your future self? I want you to write them down. Everything that I want you to do comes from your future self. Let's look at this. My standards are driven by my future self in this present moment. My accepting and rejecting ideas are coming from my future self. The type of actions I take come from my future self. The type of goals I achieve and set come from my future self. Now, I'm interested in your goal achievement, not your goal setting, because goal setting is an intellectual exercise. Goal achievement happens by exact law. If you just follow the laws and get into action, because the laws don't start working in our favor until we start moving and we get into motion, we get into action. But everything you do, make a committed decision right now that everything I'm going to do, even if it's out of your comfort zone, especially if it's out of your comfort zone, comes from your future self. Now, I told you this yesterday, your subconscious mind will only allow you to experience what you feel you deserve. And all you have to do is you look at your results. That's what you presently feel you deserve. But guess what? You can go in and rewire yourself by changing your programming to create a completely different deservingness inside of you on a deep subconscious level. Now, let's look at what identity is. Identity is an inside game. When you change the image on the inside, you're going to be rewarded by the changes on the outside. Every result I'm getting on the outside is a reflection of what's going on inside of me. Whatever results, whatever we're experiencing always starts inside of us, and the outside is just shaping the inside. Now, the results always tell us the story, but I don't want you to be obsessed with the results. I want you to let this be a compass for you. It gives you where I need to change. The results are always telling us the truth, but guess what? If a person's earning $100,000 a year, that's how they feel inside of themselves. That same person can easily and effortlessly earn $1 million a year by changing the inside, by changing how they see themselves, by changing how they behave, by having more guts to get out of their comfort zone. The results will always tell us what's going on inside of us. Now, right now, there is another version of every one of us that knows how to do 10 times better. Our job is to let that version of us out. Our job is to bring that person from the inside to the outside. Now, anytime we're rigid, we're locked, we're coming from our false self. We're coming from our fake self. We're not coming from our alternate identity. Your soul hates being blocked in. It wants you to experience life. It wants to experience things far greater than you can even accept in your imagination. Unlock your potential by never playing your life not to lose. Play your life to win. Play it to win. Stretch. Go create big dreams and watch how much you're going to grow in the process. Now, when we talked about our standard creates our story creates our identity. Your story is a self-fulfilling prophecy. There's only two things that are a self-fulfilling prophecy in our life. It's our story and our attitude. Your story determines your potential. It becomes your identity. What is the story I'm telling myself? Now, if somebody is struggling and still living in worry, doubt, and fear, attachment from the past, their old story is controlling them. And for us to create a new story, we have to heal the old story. I look at the old as a university, and you want to learn from the failures, the setbacks, the poor choices. And you're going to experience so much good when you let go of that old story, but when you use them as a university, there's things in my past that were very painful. I went through different traumas, different setbacks, just like everybody else has. But I changed them and I transformed them and I used them as such a benefit for me. Your old story, if you keep holding on to it, you're going to keep creating the same thing like a hamster wheel, day after day, year after year. We want to transform that old story. But understand, your past is just a story. How you narrate your story impacts your present and your future. I'm going to give you a powerful exercise right now. Any of you who are holding on to your past story, this is what I'd like you to do. I'd like you to commit. For the next 7 days, you're going to rewrite the story you're going to live by the end of 2024. Exactly how you want it. And I want you to rewrite it every single day. And I want you to put classical music on. I want you to put some Beethoven, some Mozart, because it'll neutralize your mind. So you'll get your analytical mind out of the way. And the reason I wanted you to write it out for 7 days is because I want you to start having it exactly how you want your story. And at the end of the old story that's been controlling you, I want you to write the last line, I now release this from my life forever, and I am living a life that I am proud of. See, how you narrate your story is going to impact what you do. If we're holding on to our past, we're going to keep creating it in our future. We want to transform your past story so you can transform your future. Now, your behaviors always follow your story. So look at your behaviors. If you're not getting into action, there's a story there. And if you're having great behaviors, there's a great story there. So understand, we want to start observing our behaviors, observing our commitments, because they're telling us what our identity is and what our identity can be as we change the behaviors, commitments, and story we're telling ourselves. Now, your future drives your present. Everything we're doing right now is creating our future results. The goal is always the cause of what we do. Your future self is where I want to be the driver. I want it to be leading your life because you're creating your future right now with what you're doing or not doing. Like, let's look at yesterday's exercise that Monica gave you. If you didn't do it, that tells a story. That tells a commitment. That tells discipline. That tells us a lot. And understand, but if you did do it, you just transformed your identity. One little behavior can make a big dent in upgrading your identity. Success comes to being true to your future self. Everything you do comes from your future self. I've said it in exhaustion this week that I want you to accept and reject ideas from your future self. When you say yes to an idea that your future self would say yes to, boom, massive quantum leap. When you say no to something your future self would say, that's comfort. That is comfort. See, a lot of people, I'll be at live events and I say, I want you to change the price of your programming. And they'll shrink. And I'll say, I'm going to tell you this right now. Let's say you sold in a week 10 clients at your old price, but you're willing to upgrade your price to who your new identity is, and you only sell 2. I say, do you know that has a better transformation of your identity than selling 10? See, we've got to get in the habit of being willing to fail at our future self than succeed at our present self. Now, are you willing to do that? Last week, I met with a great client, Jeremy, and he said, I remember when I was at your world-class wealth event, he said, Arash, you had me change my price and I was so uncomfortable. He said, but I did it over the last 9 months. And since then, my income has improved by over $30,000 a month. Now, that was somebody who was coachable. That was somebody who did not want to do it, then did it. And now look what has happened for him. He's transformed himself. He literally looked like a different person. Now, your future self is a totally different person than you are today. Your future self is wiser. It's more confident. It has more grit. It has higher standards. That's why I keep wanting you to fuse from that future self. If you start daily going from my future self, you're going to transform your life, your identity, your results literally overnight. But being separate from your future self leads to delusion. What does that mean? That means somebody who's saying, I want to earn $100,000 a month, yet all their activities are like the person who earns $10,000 a month. It's very separate. Nothing's going to change. Is that you? Or are you willing to do the deep internal work? It's an honest question. Have you been willing to start the deep internal work this week? It'll tell you if you've been your future self or you're separate from it. Everything you do for you is an investment in your future self. Everything you do against you is just tapping into your past programming. It's your past self. I want everything you do, understand it's an investment in delayed gratification, and you're going to be so glad you did. Your future self is going to love you because the life you're going to experience over the next 6 months, over the next 5 years, it happens so quickly. You see whatever you're measuring. We want to define, what are you measuring? Am I measuring my 3 to 6 goal achieving activities every night before I go to sleep in the present tense? Am I writing them out? Am I measuring, did I implement the power of 5 today? Did I make decisions like the person from my future self? Did I operate with the disciplines? Ask yourself, am I measuring this? Whatever we measure, we become. Today's self-image is creating my future results. How I show up today is telling the world how I value myself, and it is creating your future results. Now, let's look at this. Who is the person you want to become? I want you to answer this question without any influence of your past or present experience. Now, most people will go and set their goals, set their identity-based behaviors based on 10% better than what they've done in the past. That is not how you create a world-class life. You make a definite decision. This is how I'm going to live. This is how I'm going to spend my days. This is how I'm going to spend my vacations. These are the type of experiences I'm going to spend. And I want you to ask yourself, who is the person I want to become? And I want you to answer this question without any influence of your past or present experience. Do you want to be that person whose vibration influences the whole room right when you walk in? Do you want to be that person who's the most positive, confident person you've ever met? Do you want to be that person who has such a great relationship with failure that it never drops their actions? Do you want to be that person who has great discipline? Do you want to be that person that is impacting millions and millions of people? You get to write your canvas. You're writing your script on your canvas right now. This is the question we want to ask without any influence of your past or present experiences. Now, the more clearly defined the person you want to be is, the easier it will be to become that person. Write out the characteristics of the person you want to be and then become them, one identity-based behavior at a time. Confidence is a great part of your identity, and confidence is so easy to create. It starts with small wins. Start creating a wins journal where you're writing out 3 to 5 of your biggest wins of the day. And I don't care if the win was just doing your morning routine, write it out. The more you keep focusing on wins, the more wins you're going to focus on, and the more confidence you're going to build. But remember, we always have a choice. Am I going to default to my old programming? Am I going to stop disciplining myself? Do I not have a goal? Am I accepting lesser goals? That's the old you. That's the old life. Or the world-class life. I want all our energy focused on the world-class life. World-class doesn't take long to create. It takes 24 to 36 months of dedicated, disciplined, deliberate practice, getting around the right mentors, letting them stretch you, and you're going to do it for the rest of your life. The price is so small compared to where it'll take you. But remember, I showed you this yesterday with goals, and it's with identity. In order for you to become what you want, we have to change the story. I want you to see yourself as a star. You must overcome the old you. And the side effect in the beginning is a lot of discomfort. If you're feeling discomfort, it's a great sign. It is personal transformation happening as you speak, and you're in the spirit of it. But the minute you feel discomfort and you shrink back, you just went back to your old self. We've got to understand, when we have discomfort, that means a quantum leap is on the way. That is the trigger of a quantum leap. I want you to build an enormous picture of yourself. I want you to go and dedicate. And I'd like, Mike, if you put a link in of our meditation, and I want you to write out the exact image of who you want to be. And then I want you to follow my voice in this meditation and follow it for the rest of the year. I think it's 7 to 10 minutes long, but I want you to dedicate yourself to doing it at least once a day. And if you want to speed up the process, listen to it once in the morning, once in the evening. That's how you're going to build an enormous picture of yourself. The magic is always in how we see ourselves. Look at your results. That's how you see yourself on a deep subconscious level. I'm telling you this right now. I always tell the truth. The truth always shows itself based on our results. Let's change how you see yourself by committing to what I just told you to do. Do the meditation twice a day. Write out a clear, concise statement. I am so happy and grateful now that I am more and more aware that my spiritual DNA is perfect. I am living a life of financial freedom, doing what I love and loving what I'm doing. I am earning 100,000 or more every month, and I am creating effortless success, and it is done. Write it out, then build it in your mind. You always have to write it on paper before you put it in your mind. Now, let's take a look at this. This is you, and there is a power flowing in you. Now, this is the most important lesson I've ever learned, and it's attitude. Well, what do you think our image inside is? What do you think identity is? It's the true attitude we have of ourselves. Now, you have a power flowing in you, and whatever thoughts you're accepting, it goes right out into the universe. And it's not just going into the universe, though, it's going inside your subconscious mind, because whatever we accept with our imagination goes right to our subconscious mind. The universe brings us exactly a boomerang that is in harmony with that thought. So if I'm thinking abundance, the universe is going to show me abundance in my outside world. If I'm thinking lack, it's going to bring me experiences of lack in my outside world. That thought turns into a feeling. That feeling is sent out into the universe. And guess what? The boomerang comes back. But that feeling is now planted inside our central nervous system. And it's going to dictate the actions we take. So if you look at the actions, you know how strong your thoughts were, how definite they were. You know what type of feelings you have. The actions create the results, and it's a 3-step process, and it's called attitude. Attitude is the creation process. Attitude is everything. And your attitude is creating your results right now. Now, let's take a good look at this. You have the power to be the most optimistic person you know with the most amazing positive mental attitude. And you want to commit to only focusing on what you want. When we're letting the outside control us, the outside is controlling our attitude. Now, when I tell you attitude was the most impactful lesson I ever learned, I remember going to my mentor, and I said to him one day, I was stuck. And he said, well, why are you stuck? I said, I'm letting the outside control me. He says, you know better than that. And I said, I know. And he said, Arash, if you get what I'm about to tell you, it's going to change your life. He said, my mentor taught me this, and I want to teach you this because it will change your life forever. And I said, sure, what is it? And he said, anybody can have a great attitude when things are going well. He said, the real pros in life have an even better attitude when things are not going as well. I remember listening to it. I said, that's all I need to know. I didn't ask him how to do it. I went in. You get these moments where you just have this aha, this emotional impact. And I realized when I was doing well, I'd have a great attitude. When I wasn't, I'd have a bad attitude. And I said, I need to fix this. And I went in and I studied these 5 paragraphs in The Science of Getting Rich. The Science of Getting Rich is my favorite book of all time that I've ever studied. It's on my desk right now. And The Science of Getting Rich, I studied these 5 paragraphs in the first chapter. It's the first principle of The Science of Getting Rich. And I read it 5 times a day. And I became every word of it. Well, guess what happened? My attitude started changing. I stopped letting the outside discipline me, and I started disciplining myself. I started getting so good at accepting and rejecting ideas. And I studied attitude for 2 straight years with everything I was doing, and my results skyrocketed. Attitude is everything. It's our thoughts, feelings, and action that create our attitude. Well, look at how you're studying me. That's an attitude right now. See, a lot of people don't study properly. I know I didn't for 3 years. And what happens, studying is a form of attitude. You get intellectually involved with an idea. I want to take my income to $100,000 or more a month, using my example this week. And a lot of people stop there. But that's only step 1. See, we want to get intellectually involved. We accept the idea intellectually. Then we transfer it emotionally. That's a feeling. And then number 3, we step out and act. And how you know you've learned, the results have changed. If the results haven't changed, you haven't learned. You're still gathering the information. That's attitudes. 3 steps: thoughts, feelings, actions. Now, attitude is the key to unlocking your success. I always say the standard is a standard. The standard is an attitude. And attitude is what creates success or failure. Where you're putting your energy is where your attitude is. And look right now, like just however long I've been speaking today, all of you have an attitude towards this. And like you have an attitude towards your goal. Do you think it's possible or impossible? You have an attitude, can I change or not change? I know you can change. That's my attitude. Whatever your attitude is, you're right. Like Henry Ford said, if you believe you can, you can. If you believe you can't, you can't. He's talking about attitude. What I want you to do is have a definiteness in your attitude with firm convictions. This is what I'm doing no matter what. I am creating the life that I want. I don't care what's happened in the past. I know I've done this for years and have never done it, but this is the day I'm going to do it. That's an attitude with conviction. That's an attitude with knowingness. When you have knowingness, it becomes a desire. And then, like I've told you all week, once it's a desire, it's a done deal. Now, a limitless attitude. I want you to take the top off of your mind, and I want you to understand the only limit we have in our life is the limit we accept in our conscious mind. Make a part of your identity that I have a limitless attitude, because the essence of who you are is for growth and expansion. If you're running, you want to run faster. If you're selling, you want to sell more. If you're performing, you want to perform better. That's the essence of who we are, to keep getting better and better and better. There's no limit to where you can take yourself. The only limit is in your mind. The only limit is in your attitude. Remember what I told you the last 2 days. The single most powerful asset we have is our mind. How we're using it. Let's use it limitlessly. Now, your attitude is a self-fulfilling prophecy. What are you putting out? You're going to get back. You put good out, you're going to get a lot of good back. If you're not creating massive results, look where you're putting out in terms of giving. Look what you're putting out in terms of value. Are you making a 10x obsession with your value proposition? I want you just to keep putting good out, good out, good out, and watch what keeps coming back. Now, let's understand we also can have a disease of attitude. Now, I want you to look at this. Do you have a disease of attitude? That's when you're operating with neglect, indifference, indecision. Somebody's always needing somebody else's opinion whether they should do something. Doubt. Are you doubting yourself? Worry, caution, pessimism, complaining. Now, these are all forms of negative attitudes. Understand you can get rid of them just by being 1% better. Now, there's going to be negative things that show up from time to time. It's that we want to neutralize those and look at those as moments and shift into a positive mental attitude. Whatever idea you accept, it's going inside of you. But when we practice defining what our 1% is in our attitude, it changes the game. Now, every day, every thought we have 80,000 of them in a day on average. The research tells us this. Within a second, we're either accepting abundance or scarcity. I want you to make an ironclad decision right now in commitment that any idea, I'm only accepting abundance. I'm only looking for abundance all around me. And when you do that, scarcity is going to leave your central nervous system, and all you're going to start experiencing is abundance in your life. Now, let's take a look at this. Now, this is an important slide, and I'm going to give it to you differently today. These are the three parts of our mind: our conscious mind, our subconscious mind, and our body. Now, your conscious mind, you want to see what you want to experience in your life. You must see yourself the way you want to be. See yourself as a star. Build that enormous image. And when you practice that, now you train your subconscious mind to feel like you're already that person. What would that person's characteristics be? And you feel those characteristics. You discipline your five senses. How do you discipline your five senses? You see what you would see had you already achieved your goal. You hear what you would hear as people close to you congratulating you. You feel what you would feel had you already achieved that goal. You smell what you would smell. I always say when you're winning, the smell is just different. The taste of the food is different. So when we discipline our five senses, now we're not attached to anything. We're surrendered. We've let go. We're operating from our alternate identity, and we're training ourselves like the person we want to become. And now we alter our vibration by continually doing this every day. You continually impress it over and over and over and over through repetition, and then your body's in that vibration, and then you're going to create the results. That's what happens. And there's always a period of time that must lapse before you see it physically. And remember this, your five senses are going to be the last part of you that experienced the goal. But I've already experienced it in my mind, my goal. that's how you have to be. The outcome is already done before you start. So what do? You plant it inside of yourself by seeing yourself the way you want to be. You train yourself to feel like you would already be how you would feel as that person. And then you continually impress it until it shows up. Now, one identity-based behavior at a time, who do I need to become? What I want you to leave here with that pinnacle identity-based behavior that will bring all parts of your identity up. That's that pinnacle habit we were talking about day one. I just want you to focus on one. Maybe that's taking action from your future self. Whatever it is, you focus on one until it's harder not to behave like that person than it is right now. And when you do that, everything is going to change. Now, becoming the best version of yourself requires you to continually edit your belief and upgrade your image. Constantly look, oh, this is outdated now. I'm going to do this. Constantly be upgrading yourself. We can always get better. And understand, behaviors that are incongruent with the self won't last. You'll see sales professionals who are like, oh my gosh, I've been coasting. I really need to make sales. And they'll start selling. And then guess what? They go back to their baseline. See, we want to make it effortless. When you shift your identity to the identity you really want to live with, success becomes automatic, but you know what else it becomes? Effortless. Now, a permanent paradigm shift is an identity change. Improvements are only temporary until they become part of who you are. Make this a huge part every day that you're spending 15 minutes a day on thinking of the person you want to become. Train your mind like you're already that person. Practice the processes. Practice the 5 great hours. Practice the 3 to 6 goal achieving activities in your 30, 45, 60, 90-minute sprints. Practice your morning routine. Practice understanding the importance of the belief installation process. You do this, you're off to the races. All right, Mon, I am going to turn this over to you, my friend. And I think you have a lot of stories because your identity has changed so much. And it's changed really so much in the last 6 months. And I think you should share with them the importance of today with standard and identity.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, today's lesson was all about you. I love how Raj said that, and growing you and understanding you more and more. And we don't want you to just do the mental work on your identity. We want you to do the physical work, like act like that person. That's how you make the changes, is by actually taking the action steps. That's how you make the change. So if you're stuck in your old story, we all have a story. Change the story that you've been telling yourself. If you're stuck in your story, that's going to keep you from your new identity. And you can pinpoint, I wrote some notes here that I want to share with you, because some people are unaware of what story they're actually telling themselves. So if you hear yourself saying, I'm always ... I've never ... I can't, I shouldn't, I wish, one day. Pay attention to those stories that you're telling yourself, because this lesson, if you watch this on repeat, you can change that story. I changed my story. I'm not even that same person who I used to be. I had to release a lot of that old story, and it's so far from who I am now. I love this lesson. It's my favorite things to reflect on, to write out, and to design. You get to design the person who you want to become. So have fun with this. Who do you want to become? There's another version of you inside of you that really wants to come out. So create your identity with an empowering identity, full of confidence, a new belief in yourself, unwavering belief in yourself, like Arash said today. What you're going to do is really experience, when you focus on this, you're going to experience a massive quantum leap in all areas of your life. And when you look at beliefs, a belief is simply an idea that's been repeated over and over again. That's all. Okay. So when you focus on your new beliefs and it matches your desire, it matches your goal, and you use the power of repetition, which I'm going to get into today, you literally create a brand new reality. You really start to change your results because you're repeating a brand new belief over and over again. So I encourage everyone, starting with repetition, watch today's lesson over and over again. There's so much covered. And even timestamp. If there's certain parts of this lesson that really connected to you, maybe it's 10 minutes, 20 minutes, or 45 minutes, you timestamp certain parts of this lesson, and then you repeat that particular spot. So for the first part of today's homework, It's writing out in the present tense the person and the identity of who you want to be. When you're writing out your future identity, like Arash said, put classical music on. That's going to neutralize your mind. Write out the exact qualities, who you want to be. Make it powerful and work with your power source. Work with your heart while doing this homework. You get to design who you want and have fun with this. Let your imagination wander. Who do you want to become? Really put that thought and power into it. Watch and observe others. When I'm writing out my identity, I'll take people that I admire and I watch them and what type of skills do they have? What type of characteristics do they have that I also want to be part of my identity? So what type of characteristics is your future self operating with? Arash spoke about that today. Who is that person? What kind of characteristics? What kind of skills? Write those out. Take time today. Don't rush this exercise. Write it and design it, and you get to become this person. Every part of your identity is going to be really important. But like Arash said today, if you want to know where your current identity is, just take a look at your results in all areas. That's going to tell you where your identity is. And you can start by taking parts of your identity where you're dissatisfied in. Like, I want to improve this area of my life. Start working on those. When you know where you're dissatisfied in, you can rewrite it in the law of polarities and the polar opposite. This is who I want to become. Okay, so making changes in your identity will sometimes come with a lot of discomfort because remember, the old programming wants to keep you from not growing. It wants to keep you in that identity. So it's going to come with some discomfort. But guess what? We're building mental toughness here. We can push through this. So as you're fighting your old identity and you're releasing it, you want to use the power of repetition. And like I said yesterday, your why is going to get you through these hard moments sometimes when you're pushing through. So this is where your self-talk, your disciplines, your connection to your why is really important. You basically say, no, I don't care what's happened to me in the past. I'm not that person anymore. This is who I am. And I'm going to continue to step in my power. And you go right into that new identity. So let's heal the past and really step into who we want to become. That's step one, writing out in the present tense. The second step is record and commit to listening to your new identity for 10 minutes a day. Now, this is so important. I love auto-suggestion. There's different ways I do it, but record it and listen to it. Peel away any sort of fear and attachment that you have using repetition. I love how Raj said it. We're peeling away any sort of fear and attachment by using and focusing on our new identity. Use the power of repetition. You are transferring who you want to become into your subconscious mind. So you want to record it. Now, when you record it though, I want you to record it with emotion. Like go to a place in your home or outside. I love being outside this time of the year. Go outside and record it and be in your most powerful self as you're recording your identity, because guess what? Every time you're hearing it for 10 minutes a day, you're going to transfer that feeling that you had into it. So the feelings of the emotions will get transferred to you. So the quickest way to change your programming is the repetition, the exact same way it was implanted into your subconscious mind anyways. The only difference here is we are consciously choosing who we want to become. We're creating it. So when you're listening to a recording, visualize it. Close your eyes, put your hand on your heart, really feel the emotions like Arash said, seeing it, hearing it, feeling it, really get the emotions involved. So the best way to change who we are is to change what we do. So every day as you're listening to a recording, I challenge everyone to get better at getting emotionally involved in that new story. Be deliberate with your practice. Have intent going into that repetition every single day. Your habits will create freedom for yourself. So for today, before I hand it back to Mikey, it comes down to two. Write out your identity of who you want to become in the present tense. And the second part is commit to listening to your new identity for 10 minutes a day. Okay, Mikey, it's back to you.
All right. Thanks so much, Monica. Today has been fantastic. I'm sure things are starting to click and come together for you. You've already got a pen and piece of paper out. So what I want you to do is take that pen and piece of paper and start on the homework right now. Get into action. And if you haven't already, schedule a call with one of our coaches. We have the most amazing coaches in the world here at Boss Coaching Co. They're here to walk alongside you this week and to help you, to ask any questions you may have, help you reverse engineer your goal. So take advantage of that resource. There's at the bottom of the Zoom screen, you should see a button that says resources. When you click on that, you should see book a call. There's also a link in the emails that we're sending with the replay to book a call with your coach. So be sure that you take advantage of that. Book your call right now as soon as we end. And the other thing is I'm still getting questions about the replay. So yes, there's a replay available from the entire week. You're going to receive an email from Zoom in about an hour once this has time to process, saying that the recording is available, and there you can access the recording on Zoom. You'll also receive an email from us, hello@bosscoachingco.com, with a brief recap and notes from today, along with a link to a replay page that's on our website. It's easier to watch the replay from that link because you don't have to be logged into Zoom. So if you're having trouble with the Zoom link, don't worry. It's probably just because you're not logged into Zoom, and you can access it on our website when you get that email. If you're ready to watch the replays from day 1 and 2 right now, click on the resources button at the bottom of the Zoom screen and then click replay page and you'll be all set. Thank you so much for joining us. Tomorrow, things really start to come in for a landing. You are not going to want to miss tomorrow's lesson. And if at all possible, I would plan to be here live. It's going to be at 12 p.m. Eastern, same place, same time, and we'll see you then.